There, I said the title. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like the concept of uh, killer robots, whether they're possessed or not, copycat killers, and some type of digital manifestation of Afton that's apparently a virus and might be also taking over Fazbear Entertainment's technology. That sounds really cool. But the writing has been getting like very messy with this franchise, and it feels like there's 30 things happening all at once, yet they're going nowhere at the same time. Sure, Scott and the terrible company that is Scholastic try to make the Tales from the Pizza Book series to try and I don't know, clear up some of the questions that people may have after the security breach and fill in those gaps, but all it really did was confuse people even more, which is kind of the opposite effect of what it was supposed to do. Not to mention the countless inaccuracies I've heard about these books too, which is books mentioning rides that haven't even like existed or been named in Security Breach or Ruin, and along with animatronics that don't even exist, and not to mention this sudden new villain epilogues called the which apparently is the first thing that happens in Security Breach's timeline, even though we had no idea about it beforehand, nor did we have any hints about it at all. This is another problem I have with the books. They introduce one weird thing in that series, and like maybe only, and when it comes to the games, it's only ever like mentioned once, or becomes barely like relevant. That's not even important anymore. This would literally go for Remnant, which, mind you, like gets barely explained. And the blueprint that does explain Remnant in FNaF 6, that image file actually went unused apparently. Editing me here. So, in FNaF 6, there is the Scooper blueprint. The only information that you can really get out of it is it has a thing called a Remnant injector. Remnant's, like, capabilities can be neutralized from, like, overheating, and the fact that it's a substance. There's nothing about, like, souls or how it can be, like, used to power things up or anything like that, you know? Again, you won't know that unless you read the books, which I will say further in the video. Same with the Mimic. Like I said, it was just introduced in a random book series, and basically, I guess Scott expected everyone to just like read the books and then find out who the Mimic was in the lead up to Ruin, which no, that did not happen. Only like YouTubers know about the Mimic, and me, because I'm insane about lore. Except not really, because the series is a headache. Anyway, speaking of the books, I basically view them as some glorified paywall to find out more like poorly written like lore that may or may not be canon, let alone relevant, like I said, to the games. Wow, I sure did yap about those books, didn't I? But FNAF has another problem, right? And it's its villains. At first, Help Wanted, which is like the first new the first part of the new story that's trying to be told, had introduced Malhair, which is some virus that takes the form of a Spring Bonnie costume and acts like Afton. Okay, that's pretty cool actually. I wonder what Steelwool and Scott will do with that. Then in the Curse of Dreadbeard DLC, we're introduced to a character who we knew only at the time to be called the Reluctant Follower, and she also became infected with the Malhair virus, it seems. So far, there's now two more characters that might be the main villains of the story now. We got this virus acts and somewhat looks like Afton, and then this reluctant follower who obeys this virus, and they both like share this sort of king and servant type relationship. It's actually very interesting, and I can only imagine what Steelbull and Scott will do with this, especially since there was this new game teased in like past August. So, and the trailers for it, you know, reveal that we're gonna be exploring like this gigantic like 3D mall. People have been asking for a free roam FNaF game since like FNaF 3. We got two more bandmates, which they look like a wolf and maybe like some sort of reptile, or maybe it's like some foxy variant or something. The trailers also have revealed, according to the dialogue, it seems that there's gonna be like crazy like plot that's gonna be like much more action packed and stuff, with presumably Afton saying you'll bring me what I want, what I tell you to, or whatever, you will both burn. That sounds very interesting, and it seems like there's gonna be maybe multiple endings, whether it be go down the path of Afton or not. And we even see presumably his hand due to the purple lighting in the trailer too, and it looks a lot more nightmarish. So possibly has this huge bulky body that's like crazy strong. And even in the Princess Quest game and the Help Wanted mobile port, there's like this gooey like sort of like Afton Malhair looking thing that says I always come back. It's very like intimidating and makes you think Afton's gonna come back stronger this time. And oh man, what's this? We can jump head start into the game. It's called Security Breach and everything. And you're telling me Vanny had like 3 minutes of screen time? Afton looks like an old man, crusty old, weak old man, and had a poorly made boss fight. Not to mention the amounts of unused and scrap content that actually looked really cool. That sucks. Now, listen, I'm aware that it's not fully Steelwool's fault or anything. It's probably Sony's fault for making them push out the game and not wanting to wait even longer for it to release, so that way it can come to the PlayStation as an exclusive and also be released for the holidays for everyone to enjoy. However, that doesn't stop Security Breach from being, well, a mediocre game at best, and also just being like very rushed. Now, where does Bendy fit into all this? Well, I'll tell you what, you know? Well, for starters, Bendy hasn't tried to make 30 different stories with a whole bunch of plot lines that everyone needs to follow because they may or may not have, you know, plot relevance that may or may not be, like, fully guaranteed to be canon. No. You know what Bendy has? Like, 5 or so games. It has Ink Machine, which is Henry's story. Dark Survival, which is Bortus's story. Dark Revival is Audrey's story, and the keepers and Wilson and stuff like that. Then there's the 2 new games that are set to release this year, which is Bendy the Cage, and which its story seems to be about Henry, Audrey, and everyone else escaping the wrath of the keepers, as well finally fleeing the pit that they were trapped in. And then there's another game called Secrets of the Machine coming out in like 5 or so days from now when I'm like recording this. And its story seems to be about Jen experimenting with the machine, and maybe we'll be able to learn more about Jen as a company, you know? And guess what? You can literally play through all those games from when they were released and probably still somewhat understand, if not at least get the gist of Bendy's story. However, when it comes to FNaF, he didn't do that. No, let's release like a game, right? Like, okay, yeah, sure, FNaF 1. It's fine if you're right in the middle of the story. That's perfectly fine. However, by the second game, Scott should have at least had an idea of what the story should be about, you know? A couple people, mainly on like the Ritos has mainly said this. He thinks that Scott like finally began thinking of a story by like FNaF 4 or Sister Location, which it's not good, because up until probably Help Wanted, every single game has been released out of order. So that's a real doozy. Not only do you have to figure out what order of the timeline the games are in, so that way you can at least get a grasp of the story, you also have to pick apart all the lore, and if you're a real insane person, you have to read all those stupid books that are probably not even important anymore. And the real reason why Bendy is, from a storytelling standpoint, is so much better than FNaF is because it knows how to tell a story. It doesn't have these muddied up plot lines or vague story beats or anything like that. At least they're not too vague to the point where they're incomprehensible. The best part about all of it, Bendy has books. However, you don't have to read them. In fact, they're not canon at all. Let me pull up 2 images, right? Let's look at the first one by Mike Mood. If you see it, hear it, read it in the games, it's canon. If you see or hear it in a book, it's not canon. And then from Meatly. In regards to Bendy books, I've always viewed them as fun little extras for people who enjoy, who are looking more from the universe. A super talented author/artist who created freedom to make over their own or whatever. I don't know, I'm not reading the tweet directly. To me, games decide what is canon. That's so simple. And guess what? I wouldn't have a problem if the Bendy books were canon or not. You know? It can go either ways. The Bendy books just give satisfying answers to stuff. Who Boris is, why Bendy is missing a couple of limbs. You know, there's actually a reason why he's missing his foot right here. It's because he got chopped off while he's fighting some employees. So Bendy books can fit pretty seamlessly in the universe. However, when it comes to FNaF, there's a group of people who believe that the Stitch Ray Stingers are canon to the games, which they aren't. At least I don't think they are. And if they were canon, that means some random kid named Andrew was actually the host for Ultimate Custom Night and not Golden Freddy / The Vengeful Spirit. That just muddies things up so much, and that is why I wish just Scott or someone who's trustworthy working on this franchise story can come out and say, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z is canon, X, Y, Z is not, you know? I would just like some, I think, no, not just I, but a lot of people would love some clarification, because you can't just tell a story and then leave 7,000 mysteries unanswered and expect people to just come to their own conclusion for you. You know, that's not how a story works. You have to make the mysteries yourself and then fill them in later for people to finally get or solve, you know? Listen, my point is, FNaF needs to, I don't know, improve on its storytelling. Like I said, I liked FNaF, but now only back to square one for my reasonings, which is liking the characters because they have cool, interesting designs, and also the really cool merch. Sometimes. However, things such as Bendy, Poppy, Amanda the Adventure, and hell, even Garden of freaking Ben can tell a more coherent and sensible story than what FNaF is doing right now. I want FNaF's writing and storytelling to get better with time, but as of now, with how messy it is, I'm far more interested in what other games are trying to tell with their stories rather than the incomprehensible mess yet somehow husk of a story that FNaF has. And hey, don't use this video to justify your hatred against FNaF or any other stories like it. I'm just using this as a way to, I don't know, not only vent out, but also process my thoughts on what I've had for FNaF lately. Anyways, thank you for your time, for listening to me ramble on and on about why I like this funny guy rather than this other stinky man. Anyway, I'll be heading off now. See you in the next video, whenever that will be. I'll be heading out now. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you'd like to see more of my content, then head on over to my channel. Or maybe, subscribe or something. I don't know. Anyways, I'll see you next time.